You're watching Nintex Processfest 2021. Hello and welcome to our session on process automation in the construction industry. Ashish Ghai is a senior consultant and process automation expert. He's been working in the Nintex platform since 2012. Throughout his time with Nintex, he's helped many clients in achieving their process automation goals, ranging from improving organizational efficiency to overall profitability. His clients thus far have been able to realize excellent returns on their investment by using the Nintex platform. Ashish has been fortunate enough to have a very few exciting opportunities to work with Nintex clients within the construction space, and in the process has discovered that the industry can get some incredible outcomes and some major benefits in digitizing and automating their process with Nintex. In today's session, we'll walk you through a broad set of requirements that are specific to the building and construction industry. We'll discuss solutions to some of the problems which contribute to the critical success factors in a construction project and to their organisation as a whole. We'll also present a few use cases where these were implemented and their benefits at high level to the entire industry. To really understand the nuts and bolts of a typical process map in construction enterprise, let's break it down to a few key components, which are the construction side at the core, projects, design, resources, and financials. We'll demonstrate how digitizing and connecting these areas and automating them result in a huge saving of time and money. In this slide, we're covering major aspects to be automated. They are documents, such as drawings, models, design documents and presentations, project financials, and much more. Communication. This can include transmittals, notices, such as time and cost variations, design instructions, and site instructions. Communication is one of the most critical pieces here. It goes without saying that communication is critical everywhere. However, in the construction industry, it is imperative and stands out more because a communication error or delay can have huge negative bearings on a project cost. Here's an example. A client communicates to the project manager a change in colour of internal walls of a hall. A delay in communication by just one day to the subcontractor can cause errors and the need to undo or strip the paint applied and then repaint, possibly even needing to prime. Add to that the lost time to allow an incorrectly painted wall to dry and start over. Imagine if this happened to a foundation or structural design for a 50-story tower, where the civil engineer is referring to an older version of drawings and plans provided by the architect. This could equate to millions lost. Reporting in a timely and accurate manner is a big piece that helps complete the puzzle. One of the trickiest and most difficult pieces is the handover. That would include drawings, models, manuals, warranties, defects and whatnot, and presenting it all to the client in a way that allows you to secure an acceptance quickly. That can be a daunting task and can be very time-consuming and tedious. Automating handover and documentation and defects can be a big time and money saver for the industry. Coming to tools, the industry uses specific tools on-site and in the project office to record, report and efficiently run the business. A few examples of this could be a site diary to capture site information or an incident management system to record and report incidences. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of each pillar, starting with documentation. Here, we'll capture the basic requirements and some use cases to be automated using the powerful Nintex document automation tool, which involves a few key points. First, we need to store all the relevant information included. We can achieve this with tagging metadata, approvals, sharing for collaboration, ability to track the latest versions, and finally, being able to search. One of the most important elements when it comes to the documents in construction are the drawings. These could be architectural, civil, structural, or engineering. As previously mentioned, it is very critical for required stakeholders to have access to the latest version of the drawing while implementing a project. A typical example of the way drawings progress through the project would be: an architect creates a drawing that passes through many hands, such as project managers, certifiers, and clients. They then get approved or certified. Throughout the process, the drawings need to be stored somewhere physically or electronically, and then shared amongst stakeholders such as subcontractors, project managers, site engineers, for implementation on ground. In the process, there are normally many design changes where drawings change, get reapproved and recirculated throughout the project team. This process can be complex for large and fast-moving projects. Subsequently, inefficient processes could result in huge financial impact. Drawings are generally handled by a drawing register, which could range from a manual Excel spreadsheet maintained by project coordinators and backed by communications via emails, all the way through to fully automated processes like we're going to see with Nintex. The solution we are showing here is a SharePoint Nintex-based drawing register, where SharePoint document sets are created in a document library when a user fills a Nintex form using Nintex workflow, and metadata and tags are applied. Real-time communications, such as drawing transmittals, are sent to the required stakeholders. A multi-level back-and-forth approval process runs within Nintex State Machine Approval. All approver comments and drawing-related information is captured with Nintex task forms at each approval stage. Older versions are automatically superseded with latest ones using metadata updates with Nintex workflow and SharePoint's versioning capabilities. Now let's move on to communication. As mentioned earlier, this is the most critical component. Communication tools in the construction industry are primarily transmittals. The most prominent transmittal is called an RFI, or Request for Information. There are other transmittals like notices for a variation in time or cost, or a notice in delay or time extension. Transmittals may need a simple or complex approval process, but the key is to get the desired information to the desired stakeholder in a timely manner. We'll get into more detail of an RFI process implemented and the real benefits of its automation using Nintex and the key differentiators that drastically improve the efficiency and realize tangible results. As short as a few hundred years ago, RFIs were sent by post or physically delivered to sites and stakeholders. In more recent times, we've seen them as Word documents or PDFs using email. A few systems now offer automation capabilities, but none of them have the offerings or are as customized as what we can achieve using Nintex. Typically, an RFI process is to capture a new design or design change and may have approvals that need to be communicated as soon as possible to the right stakeholders within the project ecosystem. For one of our more recent clients, we implemented a project using a Nintex form on a SharePoint list for filling out details and adding an attachment if the documentary evidence was needed. We then churned the transmittal through a state machine approval using Nintex workflow. The next step, we send required approval tasks and notifications to the desired individuals or groups. With Nintex workflow, we created a circular process that in the case of a change happening, the process can restart and changes can be fed at required points, as well as approvals accepted at the desired points as well. This is a dynamic process that provides real-time information. The key differentiators on our implementation that made the whole process superior and fit for purpose are the ability to capture attachments at each approval gate. For example, at a design manager approval stage, if he wants to add an additional section to a design or wants to provide a markup on the drawing, he can do it on the Nintex task form. We added a capability to track attachments with single window view on who had added the attachments at the time and at what gate. We also created a capability that captures attachments worth more than a list item or a Nintex form can capture. Construction teams need a large number of files, and these are generally extremely large in size due to the nature of the business. We created an ability to capture approver comments at each gate and present them cumulatively in a single view, with the information on who created it and when. This also gives us a view of any choke points in the process. For example, if RFI is consistently getting delayed at the same gate. And finally, the capability of filing attachments related to an RFI in a folder, making handover documentation much more effective. This is how the attachments look. Obviously, for privacy reasons, we've hidden the users for this example. You can see each attachment has a timestamp and a user stamp. The same is true for approval history, and finally for capturing tracking details. Let's get into the details of implementation. To capture links to the attachments, we used Nintex web service and constructed a web service URL to the attachments using list item IDs. From the results returned from the web service, we isolate file names and constructed an attachment URL. Then we progressively concatenated the URL from each stage into a HTML table as a hyperlink. While building the hyperlinks, we added user and date stamps to the URL text and got the final result. The next implementation was to capture workflow history. This was much simpler to implement. We capture workflow comments with metadata at each gate and concatenate them into a HTML table at each gate progressively to get the entire history in a single view. Here's what the client had to say.
The output from the workflow reduces the need for the delivery team to produce site redline marked up drawings. We realised 80% reduction. The single systematic approach ensures that the time between construction work and to having the WAE drawings is dramatically reduced by 75%. This represents a significant cost saving to the project delivery phase of the project.
The next area we'll cover is handover and handover documentation. Don't worry, we haven't forgot reporting and we'll circle back to that a little later. Nintex DocGen capabilities are very handy in implementing handover solutions. Handover templates are created in a SharePoint library to be utilised by DocGen. Document creation, querying and capturing documents from different areas in the process, like drawings from drawing registers, RFIs from RFI registers, images from defects registers, are all collated and generated into a single handover document very quickly in standard templates. Finally, they are sent for client acceptance electronically with a signature with Nintex Sign. We also created a mobile defects application using Nintex Form capability and DocGen. This allowed inspectors to take pictures using iPads and submit a Nintex mobile form with defects detailed. DocGen automatically generates a defects document and sends it to the desired person for electronic signatures after the defects are fixed. Now we come to the industry-specific tools. These are Site Diary, various lists used as lookup lists for Nintex workflows to consume user details for transmittals, calendars with notifications, incident reports, notifications and escalations for critical incidents. All the tools and systems feed directly back to reporting. See, I told you it'd come back to reporting. When it does come to reporting, we created a few complex reporting systems using Nintex capability to query a variety of data sources like SharePoint lists, SQL databases where we provide a front-end Nintex form UI for users to write data into the database and read that data to generate reports. And that brings us to the end of today's presentation. If you're excited and ready to take the next steps towards process automation, reach out and take our automated process maturity assessment to get your maturity score instantly. We can then start to define the next right steps for you. A huge thank you to Ashish Guy for putting together today's presentation. You've been listening to Nintex Processfest for 2021 and the session on process automation in the construction industry.